This is the Lenovo S5, and one way to look at it would be that the company took a OnePlus 5T and chopped it down in almost every area, but very slightly. But then with the price, they've done a lot more than that. This is a fraction of the cost, which could make it staggering value for money in comparison. Let's find out. Just like its more expensive counterpart, the S5 is coated in aluminium, which combined with the almost identical rear shape gives it a very similar feel in the hand. The combination of it being a little thicker whilst also being a little lighter though does make it feel slightly less premium. But honestly, to the undiscerning eye, it's very tough to tell the difference. It is a vibrant, great-looking handset with also some good strength properties. I did involuntarily drop this a couple of times and there was not even a mark. I wasn't ready for how fast the rear fingerprint scanner is. It almost feels like it has been copied and pasted over from OnePlus, and there's also a face scanning option here. Again, fast. And I gotta say, I was worried about the camera because we've had so many budget smartphones like this kind of skimp on this setup, but the Lenovo S5 isn't one of them. We're packing two 13-megapixel sensors here, and considering this is one of the cheapest phones you can get with a dual camera setup, it didn't disappoint. Photos aren't as vibrant as with more expensive handsets. You'll notice shutter time isn't quite there. It's not going to handle high dynamic range as good as a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S9, but for $200, there is plenty of detail. The edge detection in the portrait mode is as good as I've seen on any phone at this budget, and as a cherry on top, the S5 also records video at 4K resolution, which is 4 times the number of pixels as full HD. The only significant downside is that portrait mode photos take a long time to process. I'm talking 6-7 seconds. Now, just like any self-respecting smartphone in 2018, the Lenovo has also integrated iPhone X-like gestures. You can swipe up from the middle to go back, swipe up from the left-hand side to open up multitasking, and then swipe up and hold from the middle to go home. The implementation is a little different to what we've seen on other phones, but nonetheless it's something you can get used to, and it's quite nice to have the option. And of course there's a third option of swiping up from the right, which brings up a customizable control center. The software, I think, will generate some polarizing opinions. It does have some neat tricks up its sleeve, and in terms of customization, you do have to give it credit. The inbuilt themes are a great idea. They make it very easy within one click to completely change the way your phone looks. I would say the resulting icon packs aren't necessarily consistent with one another. The icons seem a little bit mismatched, but nonetheless I do like it. There is an obvious downside here though, which you do get with a lot of imported smartphones like this, and that is poor localization. There's a lot of built-in Chinese apps, and also a Chinese feed on the left-hand side of your home screen. Of course, you can ignore this stuff and hide the apps you don't want to see, but it's just not the most welcoming experience. Display is where some serious compromise has been made, unfortunately. Just side by side with the OnePlus 5T, you can tell from every angle the bezels are larger, which makes it a much less impressive screen-to-body ratio on the front. The S5 skips the beautiful OLED panel of that phone and instead opts for a standard LCD, so you'll notice lack of brightness and lack of contrast, but that doesn't make this a bad viewing experience. It's still got a tall 18:9 aspect ratio and the curved corners of the OnePlus 5T, but you can tell side by side it's not even close to as impressive. But one area the phone is doing pretty well in is power. We've got 3 gigs of RAM combined with the Snapdragon 625. It's a pretty good mid-range setup. It's not enough to play PUBG on ultra settings, but for 95% of Android games, you will have zero problems whatsoever. Alright, couple more things to round it off. In terms of battery, we've got 3000 mAh of capacity. Very standard, very average, neither brilliant or terrible. We've also only got a single speaker on the bottom, which in 2018 sticks out like a sore thumb. Doesn't sound particularly good, but again, can be forgiven for this price. And storage-wise, there are quite a few different configurations, but the base model over here has 32 gigs, but with room for SD cards. Alright, where does that leave us? Lenovo's S5 is not a perfect phone, that much is clear, but for its tantalizing $200 price point, there actually isn't a phone quite like it. Even Motorola's latest budget king, the Moto G6, actually falls short in a lot of areas. The S5 is faster, can record 4K video, and has a more modern 18:9 aspect ratio display. So, OnePlus 5T parallels aside, the Lenovo S5 is one of the first $200 phones that basically fulfills all the fundamental pillars of a good smartphone. I can thoroughly recommend it. Alright guys, if you did enjoy this video, I've got plenty more unboxings and reviews for you to